Hi everyone, what's up? So this is another video for nurses asking me questions about the difference of NHS and private sector. We will be discussing my historical salary from the beginning I went here in the UK up until the current employer I have here after 4 years. Tune in as we discuss NHS versus private salaries.
Hold up.
Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new in my channel, my name is Von. I am a nurse here in the UK, specifically here in London. I was an NHS nurse before, but now I'm practicing in private. I am currently employed in a private hospital. I am working in an intensive care unit ever since I came here in the UK. Now, due to public demand, I will be discussing to you guys, as promised, my salaries, but it's gonna be historical from the start and then middle and then before I ended NHS, and then I will also discuss my salary when I started in private. I can say now that I can compare NHS and private hospital salaries, benefits, and other stuff. Okay, so what I have in here is my previous pay slips here in the UK, but as I've said, I will be discussing first my salary back when I was still working with NHS. So to give you a bit of history, I came the late 2015 here in the UK as the first batch of CBT and OSCE takers. I started as a healthcare assistant because I don't have my PIN yet, and I will be able to get that PIN after I pass the OSCE. So that's usually the trend of your career when you go here in the UK. You start first as a healthcare assistant, that's gonna be like band 3 or 4, and then you go up to band 5 when you get your PIN after passing the OSCE. Now, when I started as a healthcare assistant, the hospital has been preparing us for the said exam, for the OSCE. So while we are having this partial study days and partial clinical exposure, we are also getting salary from the hospital. But expectedly, we will not be getting the salary of a band 5, but we'll be getting the salary of the HCAs or the healthcare assistants. When I was scanning my notes, I wasn't able to see my first ever salary or first ever payslip. Our payslip was just being sent through a mail, and then it's just a paper copy. So I don't know where is it right now, but I can recall after a month of working as a healthcare assistant, my annual salary range would be within £19,000. That's usually lesser than the band 5 already. But that will still vary depending on the employer you got. On top of those, there will be other deductions such as a little fee for the accommodation. Of course, you'll have to get your budget for the food and etc. So you'll have to work on more or less 1,500 a month while you were still HCA or the healthcare assistant band post. By the way, the salary of a starting rate is higher compared 4 years ago. So don't compare your salary when you come here with my salary 4 years ago. Alright, so let's begin. We will be talking about the annual salary and wage. Okay, so my annual salary was around £21,000 annually, and that was March 2016. That was right after I passed the OSCE. Now you would say it's a big amount already, having £21,000 annually, and divide it by 12, you would get around £1,800 per month. But be mindful, you will also have deductions. So usually the deductions are the NHS pension. There are also fees being deducted, such as the national insurance, some recovery of advanced payment. When we came here, we were given this amount of money for us to start up. So it was like more of an advance payment from our salary. And then after a month, I already had a raise from 21,600. I am already earning 21,900. So there was an additional couple of pounds on my basic annual salary. And the good thing about working here in the UK, they have this what we call the increments based on your performance and evaluation. They reward employees with good standing. At the same time, after a year of appraisal or after a year of qualification, your salary grade and your salary rate will increase by tiny bit or a couple of pounds. And then after a year, guys, if you notice, we started with 2016 March. Now, I have here my previous payslip as well. This is already March 2017. And I noticed that my basic annual salary became 22,400 pounds already. So it came up from 21,400 to 21,600. And then now, after a year, it became 22,400 pounds. Now, after July of 2017, from 22,400 pounds, my annual salary became 22,600 pounds. So it increased by almost 200 pounds. And then just before becoming 3 years in NHS, I decided to try private hospital. So before I left the hospital, and that was already almost 3 years of 3 years of work in NHS, my salary, the last salary range I got from NHS after 3 years, already reached 24,500 annually. So within 3 years, I already had from 21,000 to 24,000 annually. So less, of course, you have to think of all the deductions and the tax. So from receiving 1,300 a month to receiving almost 1,700 to 1,800 a month, that was my salary within NHS for 3 years. Now again, this may vary today. So usually salaries vary because you have the high cost living supplement. If you are living in the central London or in central London, you will have your high cost living supplement. But if you're living far away from London, you won't have this high cost living supplement. So this is just to balance out your expenses and your salaries earned. And as of the moment, the starting salary of a band 5 entry level of a nurse, it is usually 24 to 27,000 annually already. So 24 to 27,000 annually compared 3 years ago. That it was so different and it was a bit lesser compared today. Alright, so here we go. After 3 years, I decided to transfer to private, as I've said. I decided to do that because I wanted to live in London. I want the lifestyle in London. At the same time, I wanted to earn more because it's a fact that private sectors pay more than the NHS. But there are also pros and cons about it. So I will be discussing that one later. Now, as I've mentioned, I'm just over a year in a private hospital. So I can just only discuss to you my salary when I started the private hospital and my current salary. So that is after a year of joining the private hospital. So I'm not just saying this to brag or to say to everyone that this is good or this is bad. This is just to help and inform others, because there are so many nurses who are asking and being confused which path to go. Either join the NHS or either join the private hospital. So we can only talk about the salary because I think that is the main thing why we are here abroad and away from our family. Right, so as I've promised, I will be discussing to you my first salary when I entered private hospital. So just bear in mind, the offers usually vary in terms of experience, if you're coming from the NHS, in terms of your tenure, how long have you been working as a nurse. So a lot of factors vary and a lot of factors affect your salary rate. But for me, when I started a private hospital, I started as with my annual salary of 35,000, around 35,000. So that is just the basic annual salary. Mind you, there are still shift enhancements where additional allowance will be given depending on what you do, like say night shifts, bank shifts, and stuff like that. And in a private setting, there is also this what we call the fixed enhancement. So on top of the 35 to 36,000 annually, you will have your enhancement more or less 2,000 to 3,000 pounds annually on top of the basic annual salary. So if you add on, so that's usually your monthly salary. So roughly you would make around 2,500 to 2,900 a month. 2,500 to 2,900 a month basic salary, with all the tax being taken out, with all the deductions being taken out. So you would roughly earn 2,500 to 2,900 pounds monthly, and that is way different compared to your income in the NHS. So that's usually the salary difference between private and the NHS. But of course, there are a lot of benefits, pros and cons of working in NHS and in private. Now, for those who are still starting to work here in the UK, I suggest that you start with NHS, especially if you're coming from another country, say like in the Philippines or coming from the Middle East, because the NHS is good in training new staff and training you to the healthcare culture of this country. Secondly, NHS has a good training for OSCE takers, and at the same time, if you're already a band 5 and would like to climb on a ladder for your professional growth, NHS is really a good training for specialization. If coming from, like say, you're a junior staff, becoming a senior staff, a nurse in charge, and then you become a specialist nurse, or you manage a ward, NHS is really good in training you to become equipped in your future career or future career progression. Now, I also noticed that NHS is really diverse in terms of culture among its staff, because it's not only British or English who are working in NHS, but all other Europeans, Asians, and coming from Africa or from America, Canada, Australia. So you will really experience the diverse culture when you work in the NHS. And if you are up to trainings, NHS can provide you so many trainings, say from internal trainings to external trainings to specialization, and even post-graduate degrees, sending you to specialization courses or master's courses. There's a lot of funding coming from the NHS because they usually fund research, they usually fund continuing education. That is a really good point for NHS. For the continuous improvement and career progression, NHS is one of the best institutions here in the UK. Now, of course, we are so far away from our families. For the Filipinos, usually NHS has the largest Filipino community. So in every hospital, you would notice that it's more than 50% of the population of staff nurses are already Filipinos. So there's a huge Filipino community wherever NHS hospital you will be, from the south of England to the north up until Northern Ireland. There are a lot of Filipino communities you can join and be at home while you are working here in the UK. Now, some other advantages of working in NHS: you will have the NHS pension, you will have a longer maternity leave for those women or childbearing women. You will have the autonomous practice. This is a challenging practice in which you will have the autonomy to challenge, to inquire, and to suggest. Unlike back there at home or wherever you are, that almost, say, private hospitals are doctor-led or the culture is doctor-led. Here in the UK, you will be autonomous and you will be trusted with your clinical skills and your critical thinking skills. And some of the fun part of being in an NHS hospital, you have NHS discounts from various shops and restaurants, even barber shops. So there are some, like say 10% discount for NHS staff. You will have discounts from Nando's or the restaurant. So that's usually the fun part of of joining the NHS. Now, the benefits of joining the private as well, it's almost the same benefits, except that it has a higher salary rate. There is also private pension. The insurance, there is also private insurance being provided by the private company. The visa is being paid by the private company, and there are also private like medical support. If you will get sick, you can have a private consultation rather than queuing up in a GP, which would take you a long while, because GP is under NHS. So that's usually the difference of having a private private medical support from a private hospital. And of course, there are also a lot of trainings paid by the private hospital for you to have your continuing or your professional progression. So it is not really that different in NHS, except that basic salary is much higher compared to being in the NHS. So I hope I helped you in terms of your deciding factor where to go, NHS or private. But as I've said, I will stick to my opinion. If you are still coming from the Philippines or wherever you are and you wanted to start practicing in the UK, it's better really to start with NHS to gain this experience, and then later on, if you are more confident, then try venture doing the nursing homes or doing the private setup or taking opportunities of being employed in a private hospital. So that is really your decision. So we are just here to help you out, and this is just my personal experience. This is my personal sharing about my salaries and my views with regards to being hired in the NHS and in private. So I hope you learned a lot with this video. If you like it, press like. Leave me some comments so that I can answer or give you some insights as well if you leave your comments down on the comment section below. So thank you for watching the videos. Good vibes lagi, and see you in the next adventure.